I am the contrarian, and this is my world.
Hi, my name is Sunil Sethi. I'm president of the Fashion Design Council of India. I also founded my own company in the 80s, Alliance Merchandising Company, and Sunil Sethi Design Alliance, which works in the field of design, art, craft, and home furnishing. Today, I'm on the Contrarian Show with Rajiv Makhni. They all want to know if the fashion industry is ready for the online space. We're more than ready. In fact, we are part of it. Watch the show.
Let's start with some startling statements about fashion in India. Online, 70% of the total number of things that are actually sold online are from the fashion industry, fashion items. Indian designers at this present moment are famous all over the world for the kind of high-end fashion that they do. And the third statement, Jeff Bezos of Amazon actually said that the biggest learning he's ever had from any country till today is from India, and it's about fashion e-tailing. So if you put it all together, it means the Indian designer, high-end fashion designer, is about to explode on the online scene. But is that really true? Well, we're about to discover that today. So Neil, thank you for joining us. But I'm going to start off with congratulating you on doing something which I thought Indian fashion won't do for a very long time. You actually have a sponsor that moved from being typical brick and mortar, I won't call them old school, but just from a previous era in terms of the way they do business, to Amazon now becoming the sponsor for FDCI for Fashion Week, right? That's a huge change. But is it really? Did things change for you? I mean, is this the next move forward, or are they just a sponsor?
Well, you know, for 9 years, we had a brick and mortar company, and a very good company in that, and we had a wonderful relationship. But you know, what's happening is, you know, things like this, if you go to a fashion forum, you go to any forum and they say, India is going to have 500 million internet users. So that kind of figure startles you. Maybe in the next 5 years, they say, we'll have 280 million users who will be using smartphones. Where does that leave a brick and mortar store? This is where it's at. So we were just plain lucky. FDCI was very lucky that, you know, there was already an introduction to Amazon. There were people working there in earlier roles who I knew personally. And then just one meeting was enough to sell each other what we are all about. So I didn't really have to make a big presentation. And Amazon, you know, doesn't need to present itself to anyone. And, you know, it was a perfect match. It started with one meeting and we shook hands and the deal was done.
What's the big deal if Amazon became your sponsor? Is it just the logo that changed or did your world change?
No, the world's changed.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, because, you know, fashion is about change. 9 years with one sponsor and then having an e-commerce player like Amazon coming in, there was a buzz in the industry. Everybody thought this was the best thing that could happen. Only thing is, like you say, we don't know what the results are going to be. We've just had one season and already Amazon, the best thing they did was they brought their education and their knowledge. Their fashion team came and educated the 100 designers who were exhibiting at our Fashion Week, educated them on what should be the best price point. So forget about people trying to sell at 40,000, 50,000 or, you know, $2,000 a dress. They told them that 10,000 rupees, 8,000 to 10,000 was the best optimum price if they wanted to go in scale and sell numbers. Doesn't matter if your dress is 15,000 or 20,000, you'll still be able to sell. That kind of education on how to work on the price points is something that you just can't learn unless you give it a shot.
Do the designers actually get the world of e-commerce? I mean, this is hand-holding of the baby kind, right? You make it, we'll buy it from you and we'll sell it for you, and the designers, as always, have just been helped out, right? Do they get the world they're about to enter? E-commerce, a paradigm shift of epic proportions, the kind where results are instantaneous, where production is instantaneous, where response time is instantaneous. The entire idea of going and getting something custom made from them, and if that is not up to the measurement thing, they say we can't do anything about it. Do they get the world they'll enter?
The first thing is about truth and lies, as what is showing behind me.
Right.
The lie is that the Indian designer is not as flippant as the world thinks they are.
Okay.
They are not dreamers. Talking about the price point, whether they knew that with Amazon is required for this hand holding. The fact is, they already know who they are and who is their customer.
Correct.
Amazon is just telling them that if you want to get into the e-commerce space, then we're giving you a price point where we feel you will sell the maximum. Yeah.
Companies like Amazon, Snapdeal, and Flipkart.
Sure.
A lot of people question why the investment into designers. And the answer, which is usually not spoken but whispered, is you need 8 to 10 marquee designers to make sure people come to you for fashion. And whatever investment is made into them, like you said, capsule collection, and they'll buy it and they'll keep it, is probably 1.2% of their total fashion sales. At the end of it, you have 8 or 10 big names. People come to you for that. They arrive on your website for that. Some of them will sell, but most of them will actually go on to buy other fashion items from Amazon. Now, this is one of the learnings that we've got from even Jeff Bezos saying something fairly similar to this, right? So is that then good in the long run?
No, that's not good at all. That's good for fashion. That's good for fashion. Mm-hmm. But you know, what happens is, even to make their own collections to sell, they would need a designer. So what's happened is, I know of 3 of my designers who are heading all the 3 major players who are already there in that space, heading as a fashion director, as a designer for a capsule, or even doing a private line for them. So that's an Indian fashion designer who's heading that. Correct. So at the end of that, so there is business there. There are many people who've gone from a designer to being a buyer for Amazon, for example. This time their team has 6 or 7 players who I know because they have passed out of NIFT.
Okay.
So, you know, what's important is there is an employment for the Indian designer. You have a point that maybe a lot of people are saying this today, but I'll tell you that some of these companies, they are also acquiring other companies. So an online e-commerce player has acquired a company who has 200 designers which are selling on their site. Okay. So as soon as this happens, gone are the 10 designers. There are 200 designers already selling on an e-commerce space with one of the largest players already existing in the market.
Let's understand from you roadblocks for designers right now.
The biggest roadblock is that the designers want to go online themselves and sell themselves. You know, sell their clothes online themselves and not necessarily have to tie up with people. And if they do tie up with people, they're happy to do that, but they have made their own websites where they want to sell. The biggest roadblock is that supply chain logistics, which the Indian designer today has not mastered.
Now, the problem with online right now, and will continue to be, at least for 500 days is what we've been guaranteed, is something called burn money. Even when you work with companies that have just been acquired, or an Amazon, or this or that, eventually if they buy the collection from you and it doesn't sell, then you're going to get an email taking 3 of the biggest names in the Indian industry, and the email will be sent out to 1 lakh people saying 80% off so-and-so person's collection, because once it's gone, it's their property and it doesn't sell, they can do it. You think it will erode everything that they've stood for? Because today, some of the independent players that actually work with these designers, I can give you a guarantee that I personally get a mail every single day, 70% off, 80% off, because the money that they've been funded with is to get more customers and to burn that money to give discounts. How do you then control reputation? And do designers understand this?
This is a tough one for me. But the fact is that, you know, a lot of these collections are not bought outright. So this happens in a case when the online player will buy the collection of the designer outright. You know, a lot of people who are in the business will know about this, that collections are not necessarily bought outright. There are online e-commerce players who are buying outright. They keep a window of 15 days, they sell it at a very reasonable price, and they're able to sell off everything. But a lot of the other collections are on consignment.
Correct. In fact, a very large number
is on consignment. And the third model is where as and when you get the order, you go and give it to the designer who has a certain stock with them. And you know, surprisingly, the Indian consumer is ready to wait for 15 days for delivery.
In a sentence or two, let's see if you can get, you know, the part which is supposed to be predicting the future, right? I mean, the crystal ball is out. Gaze into it in a sentence or two. 5 years from now, if all things go well, what do you think will happen?
I think for sure online is the way to go. I think, you know, the brick and mortar stores will have an uphill task trying to compete, what with the real estate prices and everything. I mean, this is a given. This is no rocket science what I'm telling you, but I know that in 5 years, most of the companies online will be the player because, you know, the revenues that are predicted in 5 years, you know, I'm going to see one number here. They are saying $100 billion in e-commerce revenue. Correct. Out of which $35 billion they say, and these are lots of people who worked at it, $35 billion in the next 5 years will be in fashion. So, I mean, what can be better than that? If we ain't learning today that we need to go into an e-commerce player, then when are we going to do it? And hopefully, Amazon, I have a fixed contract with them for many years, and I hope it will go on for those 5 years. Right. And I know that with the numbers we talk about and the gadgets, you and your program will be there for 50 years. But I can tell you, we can come back to you after 5 years and say, this was the right way to go.
Absolutely. And we decided on doing it right here on The Contrarian. Sunil, as always, fantastic, great pleasure speaking with you. So $35 billion, that's what the fashion market will be in 5 years. I'm going to add something to what Sunil just said. I don't think it will take 5 years. I think it will be much quicker, and you're going to see a lot of momentum. Fashion is the reason why most of us actually go online every single day and look at these e-commerce websites. Can it be that the high-end fashion, the fashion designers will make sure the 35 becomes 70 billion? Well, we all live in hope. See you on The Contrarian next week.
I am The Contrarian, and this is my world.